Welcome to the Knit Song Podcast. This is a podcast about knitting, sewing, yarn dyeing, crocheting, and all other kinds of crafts that strike me and strike my fancy from time to time. My name is Audrey and I host this little podcast. This is episode 13. Exciting. And so welcome back if you are a viewer or a subscriber. Glad to have you. Glad to see you back. And if you are new to the podcast, if this is your first time, welcome. I hope you enjoy. On Instagram, you can contact me at I Knit a Little Song, and on Ravelry, I am katknitss. So that is kind of who I am, what I'm doing here, and my contact info. And today's episode, I'm filming in a different part of the house. I'm in the kitchen, and that is because I am yarn dyeing today, and I also wanted to film an episode of the podcast today. And so my best way of doing both was, while I have some yarn in the oven and still have all my stuff in the kitchen, I might as well just have you hang out with me here. So yes, that is why I am standing here in the kitchen. So I'll kind of walk you around some of the weirdness of what's behind me. I have some of my yarn dyeing supplies over here. I am dyeing yarn in the painting fashion today, the hand painting. I'm using a stainless steel pan. And I lay it out. I follow the process that I really am following the process that I found in the tutorial by the Dyer's Notebook, Laura of Jinx Yarns. That was the starting point for me trying this method, and then I looked into it with some other websites and how-tos. And so yes, if you're interested in hand painting yarn, I highly recommend Laura and her Dyer's Notebook podcast. It's great. Yes, so dye supplies over here, some gloves. I have my dyes over there, and things are just a little spread out. And then over here, all this foil is to protect the coffee maker and the countertop, because when I'm flinging some liquid dyes and pouring things, it's just nice to know that it's not going to it just helps it from getting on the coffee pot and the surrounding area. So that's kind of the weirdness that I have set up behind me. I apologize in advance if anything beeps or lets me know that I need to move something. But yeah, here I am, just dyeing up some yarn in the kitchen. And so welcome. I have some crochet to start with today. I normally don't have a crochet segment because I've been in such a knitting groove for the past few months. So I'm super happy to bring back the Crochet Granny Stripe blanket. And here is what I've got. This is where I'm at. Now, I hate the red stripe. I love everything, but I don't like the red. And so I think I'm actually going to go back when I'm done, and I'm moving it along because a lot of these are variegated yarns, so you'll see that the colors do change even within one row. But yeah, see, now here I like the red stripe because it's a dark red. It's not clashing. I don't know. Anyway, I mentioned this in another episode, the red dilemma about that one stripe. But I'm excited. I'm using some of my own hand-dyed yarn in the top two rows here and loving how that's coming out, which is fun. It's kind of like a scrapbook for all the things that I've dyed, because I wound up some minis of some of my own hand-dyed yarn. Here's the next one I'm going to use. Super excited about it. This is the purple I showed last week on episode 12. And here is my turquoise, green, and all kinds of cool things caked up. And so these are going to be the next two color sections. And then I think I'm going to do a couple of Yarnians of the Galaxy of my minis. I'm going to do a couple stripes for that. So it's kind of cool because it's kind of a scrapbook and a memory of the things that I've been dyeing and movies I've seen now that I'm adding the Yarnians. So it's kind of just like my crochet scrapbook. So I'm super excited about this. I can't wait to add the purple on next, but it was fun to get the crochet hook back in my hands and just pick that up, because that is where I started. Crochet was where my yarn journey began in the world of crochet, as I've shared on previous episodes, by watching a girl in college a couple rows in front of me feverishly and quickly crocheting away on some hats and things. Yeah, so crochet is kind of my first yarn love, so it's fun to get back to that. Yeah, so that's kind of all the crochet I have, but I have it in my hands and I picked it up and I'm getting back into it, so yay! Another thing about crochet is I recently purchased some of these hooks. Sorry. They're called Comfort Grip Crochet by Kahoot, and they're different sizes, and it says new for crochet, grips to fit any size up to 6.5 millimeters, and yeah, it makes you more comfortable basically, and it's really fun. And I put this on and it's not that wide, not that thick, but it really makes a difference ergonomically. Like, it feels like instead of doing this tiny motion, I'm able to kind of grip it looser, and it really does help. So if you're a crocheter, I recommend them. They're kind of cool. So that's what I've been crocheting. I think I'll go into yarn dyeing next because of where I'm standing. I dyed a couple things this week. Thing number one, I've already caked up. I recently bought another, pack of undyed yarn. I bought a couple different kinds, and I bought a couple of worsted weights. I have not dyed yet in worsted weight, and this week was my first time doing that, and it's been so much fun. Actually, it's the yarn that arrived when I got all distracted in episode 12. This is what was in there. It was all this bare yarn in different sizes and whatnot. So the first thing I dyed was kind of inspired by bubblegum. It's very summery, it's super hot, and I was just thinking like bubblegum flavors, and I was just thinking fruity colors and things, and so I did kind of a bubblegum pink with some blue speckling, and it reminds me of a certain gum which was Bubblicious, and it's like came in those squares. I don't know if anybody remembers those. Maybe they still have them. They probably do, but I'm not much of a gum chewer anymore. But it just reminds me of something fun and poppy like that. So yeah, I love how yarn cakes up. I just got another thing that was in that package that arrived when I freaked out, was a yarn swift and winder, and I'm so happy I invested. I just got I got the Knit Picks ball winder, and on Amazon I got a swift that was just about 16 bucks. It's plastic and metal. It's not a fancy wood one, but it works and I like it. And so I thought I didn't want to invest right away in a really big, nice wooden one, because I thought I might as well just spend a little bit of money and see how that does. And it works beautifully. I love it. It's so nice to have my yarn caked up and have a center pole ball, so it stays still, which is awesome. And the cakes are just so squishy. They're just so fun. Anyway, sorry. I get a little excited about small things. But yeah, so I've really been enjoying caking up yarn instead of just balling it up by hand. Now, I have always balled up any yarn that I had in skein form or in a hank that you can't knit from. I've always balled it up. I've really never caked yarn before. And it's a massive difference. Having a center pole ball that sits flat while you knit, I think, is so much more of an enjoyable experience. It seems like the yarn is not wound as tight when I ball it up by hand. It seems to be less tangling, so it's not too much. Knit Picks sell their ball winder for about $19, and so if you knit a lot, especially if you knit a lot with yarns that come in a wound up hank, versus like a center pole ball from like the craft store. When I mostly knit with yarn from the craft store, and I still do, sometimes I I would always kind of have a 50-50% track record of finding the center pole in a lot of those skeins, and like half the time I would and it would be awesome, half the time I wouldn't and I'd have to pull from the outside. Someone told me once that if you look at if you go to the craft store and you buy a skein of yarn and you look at the label, that the center pole is always on the left. And I've heard that a couple times now, and I still have a hard time finding it on the left sometimes. So it's really tricky. But even if you're buying acrylic yarn or something that comes in a center pole ball, if you have a yarn and Swift, you can wind it out and then cake it up, and then it's really in a nice form. So anyway, all those thoughts to say I'm enjoying having a ball and a ball winder and a Swift. And this was the first thing I dyed this week. Yeah. So I continued with worsted weight in the next dye project, and I continued with worsted, and I dyed something similar, kind of, but I enjoyed it. It was so much fun. This was my first hand-painted yarn that I did actually in the pan versus in a kettle with immersion dyeing. So yeah, here it is. The lighting is a little tricky up here. There we go. And I think I'm going to call it watermelon juice because my mom says it looks like watermelon. I can't think of it. I don't know your name, but it's Fuang_FL. And I tried to tag you on Instagram if you're watching this. She commented that it looked like watermelon. It made her think of watermelon. And I think one other person did too. But everybody kept saying, oh, it reminds me of watermelon. So it had to have some type of watermelon name. So thank you for your input. It has peach and pink and white sections. So it's very much like the rind and the meat part of the watermelon. But it also has some dark green speckling, which felt really weird to do on peach yarn. But I really just wanted to see what would happen. And so I like what I got. It's not showing up on camera as well. And I think I'm just not used to the lighting up here because I always record, or normally record in the sewing room. But here is watermelon juice. Yay, I like it. There are some good speckles. I did 2 of them at the same time, and I caked one up so I could knit a sample, which I am going to try and do tonight. So here's the same thing, but in a cake form. And I think I really like what I got. So, watermelon juice. Haha. So that's what I dyed this week. I did do some knitting this week, and I knit in the same 2 projects that I have been showing, and I have not made huge amounts of progress on either, but I'm making steady progress, which is great. So these will become finished objects. In my pink and gray project bag that I made, I have my Malabrigo Reina shawl, which is making it's been something I've been making just steady progress on a little bit every week. But this week, there's a little bit more. So let me get a good angle here. Here's the top. The bottom point is right here, but I'm now out of the second lace section and into the next garter, the third garter section. So loving Malabrigo yarn. Their dye placement is amazing. It's everything everyone always says. I hear such good things about, I've heard such good things about Malabrigo, and it's all true. Believe the hype. It's soft, it's squishy, and it just knits up beautifully. I love the way the colors are placing themselves, the way they place them. So, yeah. So progress on this, it's growing. It's about yay wide. So, yeah. Making some progress on the old Reina. And this is the one, I'm still doing it on 5mm needles. This is a worsted weight, and I'm using clover bamboo needles. In the blue project bag, my own hand-dyed yarn / my own experimental project is coming along well. I did make some significant progress. This shawl is to the point, oops, I didn't finish that row last night. It's gonna be hard to show. I'm making progress, but this shawl is definitely to the point where it is so many stitches on the needles. So each row is taking a really long time, but progress is being made. So here's what we've got now. So here's the center, and here's what I've got done this week. I think last week when I showed it, I was in the lace portion, and I've done the next stockinette, eyelet, and stockinette section. So this, if I stretch it out, is definitely at least elbow to elbow by now. I am in the middle of a row, so it's scary. I don't want to pull it off the needles or pull out the stitches, but it's bubbly and it's hard to kind of show. But I'm really hoping to have this off the needles soon because I want to wear it, and I'm just excited. Yes, so that's what I've been knitting this week. This might be a shorter episode than usual, but I think I've kind of evenly displaced all of my craft energy this week. So instead of a ton of progress, excuse me, hiccups, in any area, I've just made like small steady steps in every area. So yes, on to sewing. I have been still reading and learning from the Gertie's book for better sewing, which I showed in episode 12. Highly recommend it. I've been enjoying just ironing and preparing to sew something with the 2 Gertie fabrics that I bought at Joann's last week or 2 weeks ago. And here's one of the fabrics that I purchased, and I am having a deep struggle with exactly how I want to use this beautiful fabric. So I'll try and tell this story the best I can. I got really impatient and I just wanted to make something easy with it because I just couldn't not be working on this project any longer. So I was like, okay, maybe I can find an easy blouse to do a DIY like clone where I make a pattern based on the shape of a previous blouse or something that I own. Then I thought, well, maybe I'll just look through my dress patterns and make the simplest one I can find. And if you can tell, the story is leading up to that punchline of I was getting impatient and I didn't like wait for like the right inspiration, or I didn't do enough homework to really find the right project, and I just started sewing. So what I did was I came up with a way to experiment with dress shapes and pattern making and still not cut into my fabric. And I'll tell you how. Not that this is some great success, but what I did is when I bought this fabric, I think I had 2.5 to 3 yards that were one solid piece off the bolt, and then on the end of the bolt there was like this extra piece that's like a yard. It's like, I think it's 53 inches, so it's a little bit more than a yard. And I was super excited because I bought both. Since this was at the end of the bolt, it was on sale, I said, yeah, I'll just buy the whole thing. So I have this piece that's not connected to my other piece. So what I did was I thought, well, what if I just sewed it into a tube? And basically I did. And then what if I left the top, whoops, sorry, my phone is on low power mode. I didn't prepare well today. Man, I'm off my podcasting game. I'm in the kitchen. Phone is dying. Who knows what's going to happen today? Anyway, yeah, so the good thing about this little project was I got a double hem. I practiced doing a narrow hem where you use a guide stitch and then fold it down and then stitch over that. And so I practiced hemming. So now I feel more confident on using and working with this fabric. And then I took the selvages and I just sewed those together and then pressed those seams out. And then what I did is I played around with all the things you can do with a tube like this. So I left here's the tube, okay? This is getting weird, but this is what I did with my week, or my day yesterday. I left the top 10 inches of the selvage open because I was thinking it could be like a Hawaiian wrap dress. So it has some drape and it has some extra gather to it, but it actually fit to the point where I slipped this on and then tied this section around the bust and then tucked in the knots, and you couldn't see the selvage, and it was like this cute, like tiki type dress. And then I was thinking about sewing some straps onto that and having it be like a tie front tiki dress. And so that's kind of what it is right now. I don't know that I like it enough to actually, I don't think it's flattering on my body type. So I think it would work on someone of a different body type, but on me, I'm not loving it. So I think I'm going to call this what it was: good practice on hemming, fun experimenting, practice on sewing with this type of fabric and ironing it, seaming it, but I'm not going to leave it this way. Now, here's the great part. Nothing is lost because I didn't really cut into any of it. I just hemmed the cut edges and I sewed the selvages together, and I can rip that seam open no problem. So I am still, oh gosh, I just love this fabric so much. But I'm still on the lookout for the right pattern for this. It's kind of made me think like deeply, like like just like life is precious, and you're like, how do I want to spend my time on earth? Like, how do I want to spend my life? How do I want to spend time? And I get very philosophical over the summer when I have lots of time to be not teaching. But yeah, this fabric, I like it so much. I'm like, how do I want to spend this fabric? I only get one shot at this. And that's not even true. I could go, save up some more money and buy some more of this fabric if I make something that's not the right pattern. But I'm just so excited about it that I'm anxious on one side of me is anxious to sew with this, and the other side is anxious to like find the right pattern and wait, if that makes sense. So yeah, anyway, that was my sewing journey. I would say I would post maybe a picture on Instagram of the dress that I came up with, but I don't even know if I like how I look in it enough to do that. And I'm not an overly self-conscious person. It's just, I really think what I made is not the right thing for my body type. So we shall see. Yeah, I am thinking that's kind of all I have today, and this is a shorter episode. I am thinking that over the next 2 weeks, I'm going to do some also short episodes that will be on location. I'm going to be traveling a little bit. My husband, Alex, and I are going to be going to a family wedding, super exciting, and traveling around our area a little bit. And so I was thinking I might not have, I definitely, for some of that time, won't be home to podcast from my normal location, but I think I might do something fun with that and podcast on the road, vlog style a little bit. So maybe some shorter episodes, but definitely I'm going to try and keep sticking with one a week as I have been able to do this summer so far. And yeah, so I might, I won't say because I'm not sure I'm going to make it to all the places that I want to go, but over the next couple weeks, I will be in even further away places from usual than my kitchen. So I hope that you tune in for those and enjoy. Ravelry group, still enjoying getting to know the new people that are joining. So feel free to join that. It's called the Knit Song podcast group on Ravelry. We have an Ask Me Anything thread and an introductions thread. So feel free to join, pop on by, introduce yourself, and it's just a fun place where we're building community. Soon, I think I'd like to maybe do our first knit along or make along, but that's kind of what is in the works for right now. So I hope you are having a great 4th of July weekend if you're in the United States. It is actually 4th of July today. This will probably go up on the 5th, but happy 4th of July if that is a thing to you. If you are far away from the U.S., then happy week of early summer to you. So or winter if you're in south of the equator. Yeah, opposite seasons, right? Anyway, I hope you're having a great week is what I'm trying to say so awkwardly. Thanks for hanging out with me in my kitchen, and I hope you have an awesome week, and I look forward to talking to you on Ravelry or Instagram or in the comments below. So yeah, feel free to comment below and tell me what your favorite summer knitting is so far, what project you've been enjoying the most, crochet, yarn dyeing, anything crafty you've been up to, and I would love to see what you've been up to. So anyway, have a great week. Bye!